Good, man.
Boy.
See you, man. Been a minute.
Oh, wait a minute, man. Let's go. Let's talk it up. Well, that's some strength to that there.
No, man. I don't live like I used to. I still do a little something to maintain. But I don't do nothing how I used to do it.
I wanted to transition to this because my mom always told me, like, babe, you keep living and you keep breathing, you're gonna go through things in life. So with that being said, can you think of a moment of something in your life that you had to overcome? It was challenging, you had to overcome that, or it could be something that you're still finding ways to get through. But what is there anything that stands out in your life that you've been through that even if people may not even know on the surface, you found a way through?
Well, the thing that comes to mind is obviously, as you can see with both of us sitting here, I'm not a very big guy in stature. Grew up passionate about sports, played basketball, played football, did a little everything, ran track, weightlifting, so forth and so on. And one of the narratives that was kind of told to me at a young age is, man, it's gonna be hard for you to make it in football because you're not that big. And so I always had a chip on my shoulder, for lack of better words, and I was determined to prove all of those who thought that wrong. So there was no such thing as knocking me down and me staying down. I'm gonna figure it out as far as how to overcome, because one thing you're not gonna tell me is what I can't do. You know what I mean? So I think that's the driving factor in the success I've experienced as an athlete, and being able to experience the levels in which I experienced from high school, playing varsity early, to being a collegiate football player at the University of Florida, playing with the New England Patriots, and over in Canada with the Montreal Alouettes. I think all of that contributed to that, and I can honestly say, when I decided to hang up my cleats, I hung them up with no reserves.
Come on,
and never
man.
looked back. And it was because I felt like in that arena, I had proved and accomplished everything I set out to accomplish and improve.
Come on, bro. I want to make sure that doesn't get glossed over. You know what I'm saying? I want to highlight that last thing you said, being able to say that you put your everything into your craft and what you wanted to accomplish before you just said, okay, here, I'm done.
Right.
What did that moment feel like when you knew in your mind, okay, I've given it my all, that picture's done being painted? Like, what did that feel like in that moment?
It was exciting for me, because it was the first time in my life that my life wasn't driven by sports. You know what I mean? So, and I was one of those guys, like, how people dream to go to the NFL and this, that, and the other. That wasn't my childhood dream. You know what my childhood dream was?
What was it?
To have a family. I wanted a wife, I wanted kids. That was my childhood dream. So, the football and, playing at all the various levels, to be totally honest with you, I got focused on trying to play in college when my dad sat me down and said, hey man, I hadn't put aside any money for you to go to school. However, if you listen to me, you got enough ability to get your education paid for. And that's kind of what transitioned me to, hey, I want to play football at the collegiate level. It wasn't a dream of mine. I want to go play, that was never my childhood dream was to have a family, have a wife, have kids, so forth and so on. So that was kind of unique, probably different from a lot of people, but being able to play at those levels, man, was good. But when I turned the page, man, I was actually excited about being able to redefine myself, close that chapter, and start another one.
See, to anyone listening out there and watching this, one of the key takeaways that I'm going to pull from that is that in our life, we're going to have different chapters. It's not just one page in the book. Our lives are made up of many different chapters, many different books. I mean, live accordingly, and it'll be an extensive book. My brother just said he basically was willing to show and tap into another side of himself that was ready to be here to shine. So football, his talents did not end at football. That's what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
And to have the courage to be able to step into that and to be bold when you step into that is something that we should strive to do.
Absolutely.
You know, so from that moment, I gotta ask, did it ever become emotional for you in the sense that, like, it was a real, it took you some days or weeks to say, okay, no, this is it? Or was it like...
It was instant for me. Because like I say, my whole life, man, had been kind of surrounded around that. You know what I mean? And I always had a chip on my shoulder. It was a driving factor. I can show you better than I can tell you as far as me being able to play at the various levels in which I was told I couldn't play because of my stature. And so once I made it to the highest level, you know, my NFL career wasn't long at all. However, I made it.
Come on, I was about to say it.
And so once that happened, for me, I don't want to say the thrill was gone, but I felt like at that level, they're going to always be looking for somebody bigger.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I understood that, and I also knew that it was more to me than football. So I had no reserves whatsoever. When I hung up my cleats, I didn't pursue it anymore. I signed a 5-year deal over in Canada, and I played 1 year and never went back. And it was just, you know, like it wasn't like I was itching to go back. I could have played over in Canada for a long time. But the thrill wasn't the same for me anymore because I hadn't proven everything. And once again, like I was one of those people when I first finished playing, I didn't want to be known as a football player, you know, the University of Florida or what. I want you to know me for whatever it is I'm doing. And so the only way you're going to know about what I've accomplished throughout my football career is if you do your research or if you ask. I'm not going to talk about it. I do not want to be known as Vernell Brown, the University of Florida football player. So that was never a goal of mine once I hung up my cleats.